Reconstruction, Plaza Towers, Springfield, Missouri, by Haley Timmons. Introduction. This presentation contains an overview from my report of my building reconstruction of Plaza Towers, which is located in Springfield, Missouri. You will also read about how I chose my study site data as well as my use of Metashape software. And at the end, you will be able to see my results. Study site and data. My study site is Plaza Towers, which is located at the intersection of Glenstone and Sunshine in Springfield, Missouri. I picked this location because it's a well-known building and one of the few buildings that caught my eye when I first moved to Springfield. Also, the light-up signs on top of the building make it very noticeable from a distance, so it is a very well-dominant building in Springfield, Missouri. All of the data for this project was obtained from my personal photos that I took of the building. There was no outside data source. I did not download a data file of photos to use. I did actually take all these photos myself. Methods. So the first step is you have to add and align all the photos. On the right, that is my parameters that I use to align the photos. And if you're using more than 100 photos, I do believe it is recommended to use generic pre-selection, but it is not required. And then after that, I use markers to either realign misaligned photos or to help align photos that did not align the first time. Next, you'll build a dense cloud, and on the right, you will see the parameters used to build that dense cloud, and it is recommended to use a medium quality setting because anything higher, it does take much more time to process for not necessarily much greater improvement. Then next we will build a mesh layer, and on the right that is my parameters box, and for the source data you do want to use the depth map, which was actually produced in the previous layer when building a dense cloud. And finally we will build our texture layer, and on the right you will see our parameters box, and you do want to enable whole fill and enable ghost filter. It will help in the final product. And for finally, on the right, you will see my building recreation that I did of Plaza Towers. This is a little animation I did create in the Metashape software, so you are able to see the entire building. And as you can tell, I was able to recreate the signs on top, as well as some of the, looks like, equipment that's on top of the building, probably air conditioning equipment, as well as I also did the sidewalk that is around the building. And conclusion. In my opinion, it is not really difficult to digitally recreate a building with the right tools and software, but it can be very time-consuming if you're doing a large area even, or just have a large amount of photos that are going to be used. Some people do use like over 1,000 photos, and sometimes some of those processes can take days to fully process. So depending on what you're doing, it can be a very time-consuming process, but smaller projects like these don't take very long.